All right, now let me run that back. Welcome everyone to Nobility's Accessibility Internet Rally 2025 Final Countdown. My name is Jillian. I'm a volunteer with Nobility, and I got my start in accessibility back in 2008 through this program that you're participating in right now. So really excited to have all y'all joining us today. Um, this is more like a really easy meet and greet, super casual, no formal program. Um, this is mostly just a chance for us to um, chat about your experience. And between now and 6 p.m. Central Time, so within the next hour, teams are going to be sending in all of their materials, all of their judging forms, and officially crossing the finish line for Air 2025. So, with that, I do know that several teams have already sent in their forms. Tina, our Director of Community Programs, is on the line today. And Tina, what is our team count or our team submission count at right now?
Two, three, 6, 7, 8. Looks like eight. Eight, half. Half, eight.
Eight. Wow, that's huge. Um, I remember back in the day participating in both Air Houston and Air Interactive, which is what the new or the current program is modeled after. Um, we'd be working until the finish line. Um, Back in the day, the event uh, was in person, and so I know the Air Austin program was a bit different than the Air Houston program, but we were in a gigantic auditorium at Rice University. We had to show up at 4 a.m. and we we could see every single team coding furiously across the auditorium. I made it a point to wear pajamas every year. But it was a really fun experience. And so, in an effort to make the interactive experience just as fun, just as um, engaging, we decided to do something like this, um, where all of us, no matter where we are, whether it be Houston, Haiti, Austin, Albuquerque, Germany, Georgia, um, we could all get together and talk about our experience and celebrate the way that accessibility has brought us all together. Yeah, Liz, 4 a.m. We did that also because Nobility, I don't know if y'all know this, but Nobility is very well known for providing the most delicious spread at any event you will ever participate in. So we got there at 4 a.m. because we wanted to get the fresh brewed coffee. I think Lori Payne, who used to be a part of the Nobility team, would get it from, I think, Katz's Coffee, maybe. And uh, Tina, you can tell me whether or not I'm lying, but we would get Einstein Brothers bagels, um, and just about every dip available at Costco. So yeah, Nobility knows how to put on a really great spread. Um, Taking a look at the other comments, Sean, I see that you have to duck out of here. Um, when is Team Six being announced? Um, oh, okay, Tina, you have beat me to it. We're not announcing the teams or the winners today because everyone is turning in their projects. And so this is just a time for anyone to get online and talk about their experience. And so this is a great time for me to actually stop rambling about like the good old days and put out the call to say if anyone wants to raise your hand or, you know, send me a direct message in the chat and get on camera to tell us about your air experience. Maybe it's something that was really phenomenal, or maybe something that was surprising and unexpected, but taught you something cool along the way. Eric, I don't know if you're raising your hand because you're asking where the donuts are, but if you're from Houston, where I am, the donuts are from Shipley's, always from Shipley's, only from Shipley's.
Well, you didn't
So,
mention donuts, so I figured I'd just kind of, kind of
yeah,
stick a thorn in your side there. Anyways,
no,
but,
there were definitely donuts, and I think there were also breakfast tacos.
oh
Um, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's not a
I can
hackathon.
fulfill for that. No big deal.
Well, I thanks so much for raising your hand. I'd love to hear about your air experience. What went well, what didn't go according to plan, what were some surprises or some lessons learned along the way, and what are some things that might be really interesting for you or anyone here in our community to dive into and explore further after the air competition concludes officially in January.
Yeah, good questions. Yeah, so basically, first of all, let me start by saying I'm a rookie this year. So I'm a newbie mentor and absolutely had a lot of fun. I had to get over some of the nervous jitters and so forth and so on. It's like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? Are there any metrics that need to be met or whatever and stuff like that. And I'm just, going a mile a minute. Finally, I settled down and really got to know the team. um, Team Code Your Dreams is a really good team to work with. One of the things that I found as mentor is that it's if you can do this as a mentor, and this is something that I'm challenging myself to do, is that if you are a mentor, basically don't be an annoyance, but at least let your team know that you are there. And if it means you do it on a daily basis or maybe a weekly basis or something like that, just be as interactive. Because some teams they like to bring in mentors for advice as they're designing, uh, so forth and so on. But the thing is that there are other teams like the one that I worked with that had kind of their processes internal, and so I really wasn't relied on until towards the end and all that stuff. So if you're a mentor, try to coach your teams in order to do that sort of at least to let them know, hey, not being a pest but anything, but here it is, I'm a resource. Let's make include me in the team, just because of the fact that I've got as much vested in you having a successful website as you do. So those are some of the things uh, that I learned. Another thing that I also observed is that I don't know if this is common or not, but sometimes, at least in the employed world, sometimes teams like to do things last minute, and I was up all night in addition to doing other things, but also trying to answer seven questions that were basically novellas. and um, and I'm like going, okay, guys, why now? So the thing that I would say to future teams is basically, if you're going to have questions, or at least if you know that you're going to have questions, try to include your mentors in as early as possible, so that way we can make sure that we're answering the question as thoroughly and clearly as possible. You don't want that sort of communication chaos. So those are some of the things that I learned. It's been an honor to work with Air. I helped in one of the competitions a long time ago, and when I got the invite via the nobility list, I'm like going, yeah, I got to do this. So thank you so much to Code Your Dreams. Thank you so much to Nobility and stuff like that. I really had a lot of fun, and this has been a great honor.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. I'm actually gonna keep you on the hot seat a little longer. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Go for it.
Okay, awesome. So I loved what you said about making sure that you check in with the team early on because even the most seasoned enterprise companies, folks who have been coding for years and years, if they don't have the awareness about accessibility, they can still produce inaccessible products. And so this is a fantastic example of the wheel that we're trying to break, right? And
Yes.
so I loved how you approached your team with that attitude, like, hey, I'm not trying to be a pest. I'm invested in your success here. So I love the advice, you know, for future mentors, um, to not be afraid or shy about putting yourself out there that way. Um, is this program a program that you would be interested in participating in the future, and why?
Oh yeah. I think that gave you the answer right there. Just to give you a little bit of my background, because it ties into why I do what I do. I was born visually impaired. As a matter of fact, I had cataracts when I was basically born, and so therefore I've been low vision pretty much all my life. So I've also had the how should I say? Yeah, I've also had the blessing and the experience of being brought up in schools that were very aware of adaptive technologies, and I got to use a lot of them, even sometimes before they were released and stuff like that. And so I really had a huge fortune in that. And then in 2007, when WCAG really started taking a hold and stuff like that. That's when kind of the first requirements came out. I started doing a lot of contracts, especially for the state of Texas, and because of the fact that I had experience in these ATs or these adaptive technologies and understand what it's like to come into the mainstream world, let's just put it that way, it, with a disability is quite challenging. Whether it be visual impairment like myself, whether it be blindness, deafness, motor impairments, cognitive impairments, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that I consider these kind of my people because I'm one of them. And when 2007 hit and they started to have, the state of Texas started putting out contracts for accessibility analysts and so forth and so on, I figured this is the next evolution in my quality assurance career. And so I've been doing it pretty much. I would say very off and on, more on than off. Thankfully, and the fact of the matter is that when I do this, I'm making a difference not only in my life but also people's lives as well because of the fact that they're actually having an experience with my work. They don't need to see my face. They don't need to see, know who I am necessarily. But just to see their work out there, or just to see them being able to adapt because I had a say in how things should be designed or tested and so forth and so on, and coming at it as a disability advocate as well as a tester. To me, that's a huge thrill in my life, and that's why I chose to do air, and that's why I'll continue to do the air competitions.
That's amazing, Eric. And it is an honor for us to have you as as a subject matter expert with lived experience and practical knowledge of how assistive technology should interact with digital products. So thank you so much. I'm so happy that your very first experience was a great one. And I'd like to pose a question to anyone in the audience today. Um, if it was your first experience or if you're coming back to air, um, I'd love to know how the perspectives of real live assistive technology users has had an impact on how you design and develop digital products. whether it was for this project or for projects you may have in your roadmap for later on. Are there any, have you experienced any interactions through the AIR program that have given you a moment to pause and think about how you might do things differently? Or if you are a client, and this is the first time um, you you've actually decided to make accessibility a priority for your website, or you've finally gotten a chance through the AIR program. Have your interactions with assistive technology users changed your perspectives?
Or in the program itself, like what did you not think about before? For example, before I came to the Board of Accessibility, there was a bunch I never considered. A lot of it being digital accessibility. So, and y'all just can either raise your hand or come off mute. Mm.
Hello, Tinia and everyone. I'm Tamer. I would
Hi,
like to
Tamer.
I would like to chime in here. So it's my first time participating in the AIR program. I am a individual that is blind and also has cognitive disability. So working in the field and seeing that what happened to me was discrimination. And knowing that, I joined this program, it gave me an outlook that was very inspiring, very, you feel as if you're changing the world. You're, making an impact to change lives out there. Um, you know, yes, at one time I was working, but I was dealing with uncertainty. I was dealing with tools that were inaccessible. I was dealing with managers that did not know what a disability was, what a hidden disability was. And coming to this program and knowing the ins and outs of a person with a disability and what they go through on a daily basis is a big thing. I love the fact that Nobility, this program, the AIR program, was provided me you know a a a concept of you know realizing what accessibility was about, um, how how accessibility works, um, how advocacy needs to work alongside accessibility. It give me the outlook that I need to be an ally. I need to be somebody that fights for equal access. And that's what made me, rethink about my, work ethics. Rethink about, what I can do in this role that can make a difference. And I'm so happy that I found, this program and joined it. Um, you know, it's been a couple of months working with, my team, the mentors, the development team, giving feedback, back and forth, knowing how to, fix things by, providing, uh, feedback, um, being able to be listened to, being able to, you know, know what's wrong and talk to the mentors about how it can be fixed. It's a big um, accomplishment I feel that I took on. And I'm so glad that I created a website where I would show my strength. Uh, in I'm an author, so I'm basically developing a website that would advertise my book and talk about my journey with, writing the book, with advocacy, with being a self-published author that is visually impaired and facing, other disabilities, and changing the world. That's it.
That's amazing. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Tamara, and my fellow Houston native. What you said to me, really at the very beginning when you said that, you had managers who um, didn't really know what a disability was. And my heart breaks because, in many different industries, we're still at that point. Air began 20 years ago, and we were hoping that we'd be beyond this point. Sharon often says that they thought that we'd build awareness and we'd solve these problems. But, as technology advances, so do the problems. But yet, there are still many folks who don't have that baseline awareness to where, hey, this is what a disability can look like in the workplace, and these are some of the accommodations that might that they might need.
Right.
So I am so thrilled to know that this new website by your team is going to help get your voice and your story out there so that we can continue building awareness, and hopefully through the AIR program, we'll be able to amplify your story.
Yep.
And you mentioned how lovely it was to work with your team and your mentors. Would you like to use some stage time to give them a little bit of a shout out?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I wanna give a shout out to let's see, Randy Howard, to um, sorry, I'm coming to a blank here. um, to the developers like Cookie Dutch. Trying to think who else. Let me just look. I do apologize.
That's okay. I put you on the spot and I'm very
Oh, yeah,
sorry
you're
for
fine.
that. I'm terrible. I'm like, hey, you want to do this? You want to do this? Hey,
I'm
everybody.
I'm so terrible with names. I do apologize.
That's okay.
But
That is A-okay.
I just want to thank my whole team. They were on top of things. They were so into what my mission was, what I wanted to create, so everyone can collaborate and get things done. I felt so good that when we had a spreadsheet with things that we had to do and we just tackle it one by one. It's a great feeling. And that's actually what I felt. Just being able to give feedback and take that feedback and put that toward the project, and that's how actually we finished the website. It's phenomenal.
We just got another submission.
That's amazing. Congratulations. And that puts us at what is our count? Are we at 50% yet?
No,
Over.
somebody we had I had miscounted.
Okay,
So
so we're still at
yeah.
8. Okay. So roughly percentage, what are we at?
Half.
Half. Okay, we're still at half. That is A-okay.
Yeah. Um, Mark, check your private Zoom messages, please. I'm losing my voice. Go ahead, Jill.
Oh no, that is A-okay. All right. So thank you so much for everyone who's wanted to share a little bit about their experience. Um, is there anyone else that would like to share what this year was like for you? Maybe some things that um, you were excited to see, or maybe even things that you'd like to be you'd like to see done in a different way next year. Or and any feedback you have for us. Boughton, I see you on cam, which kind of makes me want to put you on spot, but I'm not. I'm halfway throwing it out there. I can reel it back in if you want. Um, but yeah, I'd love to hear if anyone has anything they'd like to share. If not, we're at just past the halfway mark. Um, we can go dark for the next 5 minutes. Oh, I've lost audio. We can go dark for the next 5 minutes for bio breaks, refills, and then come back at 5:40. Yeah?
Yes, yes, approved.
Amazing. All right, let's do that, and we'll see y'all in a bit. All right, everyone, we are back, and my headphones just do not want to play nicely with me. We are at the 20 till mark. Can everyone hear my audio okay?
Yep, sure can.
Okay, amazing. All right. So, Mark, in the last few minutes, have we gotten any new submissions?
I see one
One new one?
at 5:40 p.m.
Ooh, that's amazing.
I've counted 3 more.
Say that again?
I've counted, no, maybe it looks like 2 more. Anyways, yeah, I think we're up to 10 now.
You'll see the That's amazing. Um, all right, so we're over the halfway mark with less than 20 minutes to spare. This feels like an air rally. It really does. During the break, Tina had pinged me saying that some of the air Slack channels are really popping off right now with team members uh, scurrying to QA and remediate some of their accessibility issues, and so definitely feels like an air rally. All right, so also during the break, I did do a little bit of uh, looking up, and I want to thank um, Eric and Tamara for getting on video and sharing their experience with us earlier. I want to add to their shout outs and call out the amazing team that Eric mentored this year. We had Eric mentoring or co-mentoring with Natalie Tucker, and they mentored the team for Code Your Dreams, which was made up of Michael Coker, Sarah Rambusher, I hope I'm saying that right, Becca Stevens, Kayla Chum, and Jeff. Hold on, I did not finish writing this. Let me just make sure and Jeff. I don't know why I didn't write your last name. I apologize for that. But Jeff, thank you, Jeff, for your amazing contributions. And then to segue into our next speaker, Tamara, I did also look up your team information. And this year, you, um, okay, I think my audio is better now. Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. Tam, your team was Access Key,
Yeah,
and you had mentioned Randy as one of
correct.
the mentors, and Boughton was also a
Boughton, yes.
mentor. And your
Hmm.
team was made up of Cookie Dutch,
Yes,
Catherine Lee, Irene Seeby, and Netanella Carasso.
correct.
So I'd like to call Boughton up on stage to talk a little bit about your experience with us.
Awesome.
Well, this was the first time I co-mentored, which was a great advantage. Uh, Randy had a perspective of experience in the past in which his previous team had prepared a WordPress site without checking with the client first to make sure that they would be able to edit it. So, armed with that foreknowledge, Randy was able to check with the team and check with our
Mhm.
client, Tamir, to make
Correct.
sure that that he could actually maintain the site after release. So this is something I encourage all other mentors to do now and in the future. Make sure that that the site is going to be able to be maintained by the client. So thank you, Randy, for that observation.
Mhm.
Um, my team was very motivated and very knowledgeable. They didn't need much guidance after some initial suggestions at the beginning. Um, and they were very open to meeting with me and Randy.
That's awesome. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Boughton. And I apologize because I had some trouble hearing you. I don't know if it's
Oh,
my ongoing audio issues, which very well could be the case. Um, Fountain, you have been, one thing that I love about you is how engaged you've been in nobility programs for um, almost 10 years now.
Mm.
Um, and you've you've been not just a mentor, but a participant
mhm.
in AIR. Tell me a little bit about, your journey from, I think, like I remember, I remember you participating back in 2019.
Yes.
And here we are in 2025.
Mm.
You're a mentor and have provided just a memorable and meaningful experience for a first-time participant client. Tell me a little bit about your journey from, 2019 when you built that website for the library, right? The
Well,
library in
it
Austin.
was Texas Kids Read,
That's right. Texas Kids Read. Yep.
which was
Uh-huh.
a nonprofit organization giving books to school children
Hmm.
in low-income school districts,
Hmm.
children usually migrant workers, and giving them the first books that they actually own themselves. And I think it was very much aligned with nobility in that we were giving access, making something equitable, making sure that that the disadvantaged would have more access to information. As far as my experience with accessibility, um, 12, 12 years ago, I left web development and moved on to business analysis. And I thought I knew what accessibility was. And at the time, it was following a checklist and making sure you had alt attributes uh, and making sure you had sort of different colors. I didn't. I thought I knew what accessibility was, but it wasn't until one of my coworkers who happened to be blind um, called me and said, the law department has sent me this PDF, and as far as I can tell, it's blank. And I asked him to send it to me, and it wasn't blank, it was full of words. And that was the real beginning of my accessibility journey, where I realized, surprise, I didn't know as much about accessibility as I did, as I thought I did. And so I've kept that. I don't present myself as an expert. I don't feel like I'm an expert. I do feel that I have something to share. And I don't so much have a passion for accessibility as a deep desire to be fair.
I love that.
Whether you have a disability or if you're a minority or if you're an immigrant in a strange language, in a strange world, I want to make sure that you have an equitable experience, an equitable access. And well, I working with my coworker, David Ondick, we learned about accessibility and we started sharing it with our community. We would present at conferences. I've presented at various conferences, including Access U and the Adobe Cold Fusion Summit. And it's always the desire to share what I know and learn along the way.
I love that. There were so many points that you just made, Boughton, that I kind of want to underscore here. That accessibility is a way that we promote humanity online. One thing Sharon also often says is that accessibility is a human right. It is a civil right. This is why we work as hard as we do. This is why nobility is as loud as we are. You know, our small but mighty team advocating for those who and using the last 20 years as a way to continue to make progress. And the things that we learn around along the way are things that we're honored to share through our various programs. As a nonprofit, education is one of our core pillars. And we are dedicated to providing this type of knowledge through AIR, which many of y'all have are participating in for the very first time. Just out of curiosity for everyone on the line today, um, you know, drop your favorite emoji in the chat if it's your first time competing in AIR today. But we promote this awareness and this education through AIR, through Access U, which is happening in May, but also through our free BADA webinar program that happens every single month. And we do this as a nonprofit because we truly believe that access to information is a human right. But I'm going to just throw this out there. It is the end of the year. As a nonprofit, I would be remiss if I did not say that as as a 501c3 nonprofit, our our ability to continue providing these programs is through your support. I know that many of y'all paid a participation fee to help offset some costs, but the majority of these programs are run by volunteers. Nobility only has 7 full-time staff. And so we would be extremely grateful if you would consider donating to Nobility in your end of year giving. I'm going to drop the link in the chat here. Really easy to remember, nobility.org/donate. And, I was doing the math and, considering the number of Access U attendees, AIR participants that we've had in the last 20 plus years, if every person that has attended one Access U or participated in one AIR rally donated $20, we would hit our goal. This is before I even thought about, honestly, Mark, I'm so sorry. This is before I even added in the VADA attendees. And so this number is probably much lower. All we're asking is for a little bit of support. If you feel inclined, or if these programs move you or have made an impact on you personally or professionally, kick us the equivalent of a coffee or a latte. Every little bit counts. Or, it doesn't even have to be a latte. It could be a Monster Energy drink. It could be this Guinness extra stout that I stole from my brother-in-law just now during the break. We would really appreciate it. Like I mentioned, the folks that the familiar faces that you see, Tina, Mark, they are part of the Small But Mighty team of 7. There's a really cute team name there somehow, the Small But Mighty 7, maybe? I don't know. It's Friday. But all of your mentors, all of the judges, myself, Jan McSorley, who leads the judges and also helps with our K-12 programs. All of these efforts are volunteer efforts because we believe in Nobility and have gotten our start with Nobility in some way, shape, or form. Thanks, Mark, for sharing BADA. Definitely consider attending BADA. The next one is when, Mark?
It is December 18th.
Okay,
And we're
wonderful.
going to be working with accessible math equations and an accessible math equation editor.
Ooh,
No,
I know. Math, what? No,
like
that's
writing
great.
out complicated formulas for calculus and stuff.
I just can't even. So you'll definitely see me there. Um, you know, but again, if these types of webinars, these topics interest you, if this programming continues to bring you back to Nobility, please, please, please. And I'm going to just send this link again, Mark, because I want, sorry, I want my link to be the priority. Please, please, please send us the equivalent of a latte, a family meal from KFC, whatever. Every little bit helps. Please and thank you. And with the last 3 minutes, Mark, where are we? Tina, where are we?
These teams stressing me to the last.
Oh,
I'm like, come on.
I think we're down to 2 left. I've got another few that dropped in that I'm going through one by one because I write down a little bit of stuff and I've got to process them and stuff, so it's slower for me. But I think we're only missing 1 or 2.
I just saw a chat message from Laura, and this makes me want to do this. Congratulations, Laura. And let me quickly look up which team you're representing.
That was testing and research team.
Oh, okay, wonderful. And
Super glad to be done.
oh, big sigh of relief. Let's all do it together. Breathe in, breathe out. Oh, yes. So tell me, how good did it feel to just hit that send button?
Like a huge monkey jumped off my back.
So now once all of that adrenaline is out of your system, what do you think some of the main takeaways or some of your proudest moments throughout this competition have been?
I think one of the biggest things, like we had a lot of stumbling blocks. We had a lot of waiting for this to happen, waiting for that to happen. And once we got some access to the scripts and started, really making some progress, we all worked really tight as a team. And you would not believe how much we got done in just the last week. So,
I
yeah,
believe it.
teamwork is awesome.
Yes. Um, what are some of the things that you would if it's remind me, is this your first air competition?
Yes, it is.
So if you could go back in time and talk to Laura maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, what are some tips and tricks you would give her?
That's hard. I admit, when I first signed up, I did not plan on taking a leading role. I thought somebody was going to hold my hand and I would just kind of flow through. But I also learned so much through the process, and it was great having. Not only did we have some good team members that really knew what they were doing, but our mentors were fantastic as well. So as far
Awesome.
as preparing, I don't know, honestly. I think I'll be better prepared next time. I've learned a lot.
I love that. Would you like to give your mentors a shout out while you're on the stage right now?
Oh, absolutely. We have May was one of our mentors, fantastic. We also had Michael Moore, and he was a very calming presence. And for a short time, we had Bob, but yeah, they were fantastic.
Awesome. I'm so glad you had
Our
an amazing experience.
our lead judge just joined us.
Nice. Hold on.
I
Awesome. Thank you
think
so much for sharing your experience, Laura. Tina, we're officially at 6:01. This competition is over.
that's a Mark question, but I would like Laura to finish. Sorry. Look, I didn't even do the work and I'm over here having a heart attack. Did we make it, Mark?
You mean the Overlord is having a heart attack? No.
It looks like all the teams have come in, but I haven't finished processing them. So I'm going through them one by one, but I got another slew at the very last minute there. So
Yes.
I'll be able to tell you in about 5 minutes or so.
Sweet.
Because I am sending a nice response to each and every team that submits and all of that, just confirming and everything. So
This is awesome.
hello,
Okay.
little one.
Amazing. Say yay me. Say congratulations,
I was trying
everybody.
to jump in here. I think my team leader might have sent an email with our submission, but I think I also sent an email with our submission, so I don't know if that's gonna be confusing because I wasn't sure if she was gonna send it or if I was gonna send it.
Mark will figure it out.
Indeed.
Better to have 2 than 0, right? Mark will figure it out.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. This has been a great experience for us. My team, we're all rhetoric and writing majors at UT. It's our first time ever designing a website for some of us. So it's been a really cool experience to like learn about accessibility and just bringing that into our daily life outside of website building. I think it's been like really, really great for us to be a part of this, and we're very thankful.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, Michelle. I'd like to ask you the same question I asked Laura a few minutes ago. If you could go back in time and, right before, you know, s- coding that very first line of code, what's some advice that you would give, you know, um, previous Michelle?
Well, I would say just letting myself really just like relax because I feel like when we first started, it felt like a lot of pressure to be doing something like this just because like, once you learn about it and it kind of makes you angry when you realize how most of the internet is not accessible to people. So I guess I put so much pressure on myself to kind of make everything work out right. So just telling myself, just take a breath and not put so much pressure on every single step because this is something that's collaborative and also this is something that's an ongoing process.
Awesome. I love that. And that's great advice for not just folks who are participating in AIR, right? Or in participating in any hackathon. It's fantastic advice for anyone who has decided to make accessibility a priority in their work because um, you know, accessibility isn't a linear adventure. Um, you know, there are times where you're going to have to advocate to make accessibility a priority. There are times where you're going to run into um, unforeseen circumstances where you may be under-resourced or when things may not be able to, or things may not go according to plan. But if you just keep at it and you keep calm and you know that you have a community of practitioners, folks who have been in your shoes before to support you, um, you're already on better footing. And I can't tell you how many times I've run into a problem in my work where I've had to call on folks that I've met through Knowbility, that I've met through a rally. Um, and, you know, everyone on this line, take note of the folks in the participants tab, because these are the folks that you can call on whenever you have, whenever you need advice and you need support. Um, One thing that I would really love to encourage everyone is to keep those Slack channels alive. Um, you know, you don't need to just use them for air. I think the Access You Slack actually is it still might be popping with things that are related to people's work. And this is what it's all about, right? We're not just trying to see who comes in first, second, or third, although that's really, really fun too. We're trying to build we're trying to build upon a community that wants to make the world better. And that's really and truly one of my most favorite things about AIR. Um, so yeah, awesome. Tina, Mark, how are we doing? Are we all are we all in?
I'm going through them one by one as fast as I can, Jillian.
I think
That's
we're
our
all
grandson.
in. I'm monitoring Slack. It's saying the teams put their messages in. We finally did it. We finally did it. I just told them there's time to come join. So as they go in there, because I'm on the team Slacks, and so I go in and I'm paying attention. But
Awesome.
Mark's got a lot to do with counting and grabbing shots and all of this stuff. So Luis, for the teams that are on here, now that they've submitted, any last minute reminders to them about between now and when judging is over, kind of about
I
their
mean,
sites?
it's just the now's the time where I actually have to do a little bit more work, or the judges are gonna have to do some more work. So we're gonna, Mark's gonna get everything all prepared for us, send them over to me. I'll get them sent out to the pairs of judges, and then they will They have I think a little under a month to kind of get their judging done. And then they'll get it to me. I'll make sure everything looks good. And then I don't know exactly who I give it to. I'm sure Mark or Jan or somebody will tell me who to give it to. And then we'll, you know, get those final scores in once we get all the information from the nonprofits about, like what their feedback is. And then you also need to submit your maintenance migration plans. So all this stuff needs to go into, that stuff still needs to kind of happen. And then we can have the final scores, and then we'll have the big thing. Looks like Mark's gonna say something, but he's muted.
Yeah.
Or he's just talking to himself because he's working frantically to make sure to get all these the sites set up.
Hurry, Mark, hurry.
I can
He's still on mute.
narrate. He's probably going copy, paste, drag this. Oh shoot. Oh, I almost deleted that. Oh my goodness.
Oh, they're all
think
gone.
Do we have a reminder for those who have things that they maybe haven't finished between now and judging? Make kind of is
You mean about the maintenance and migration plans to the 14th
no,
of
I mean
September?
actually, well that, but I was talking about the actual coding and stuff on the sites while they're in judging.
Oh, to not touch it.
There you go. That's the one.
Oh yeah, don't touch it.
Are people still allowed to say things?
Yeah, go for it.
Always.
Okay, yeah, I would love to speak a little bit about my experience this year. This is my third year with AIR. I was a developer first. I do not envy you all. With that, I was a judge my second year, and I'm back as a judge, but I also stepped in to mentor two teams that were absolutely amazing. So I definitely want to shout them out. I think it's Access Granted and Keys to Access. Please do not be upset if I've gotten those names wrong, but this is all off the top of my head. I'm just so proud of them. They were incredible, and I'm also very grateful for their patience with me. This was my first time mentoring, and it was sort of scary because I feel like there's so much to know, and I'm still learning very much myself. And the teams that I mentored were so incredibly talented and on top of it themselves. So, that said, I hope that I was helpful in some regard, and I'm just so proud of them both. And I learned a lot acting as a mentor, so I'm really glad that you all allowed me to do that. And judging though is where I live. That's what I really enjoy doing. So this is where my time comes in. And I'm just so grateful too to the whole Nobility team. I'm always in events. I was just at the WCAG 3 event. It was incredible. I'm always on the event. I'm in all of the newsletters. I hope to be back with AIR as often as possible. I learned so much and meet so many incredible people. I hope to give you all some of my lunch money. And yeah, just be prepared to continue seeing me in the chat. And I really appreciate all of you and the work that you do.
Thank you so much, Samantha. And yeah, I think I did see your name listed in the participants pane in yesterday's webinar. So really happy to see it again here. Really excited to know that you will be at the December WCAG, which is going to be very interesting and informative. And as always, extremely grateful that you consider buying us a latte or buying us lunch.
Oh yeah, for sure. I will be back in the Q&A all the time. Prepared.
Wonderful. And if y'all have just joined us in the or have come off mute or don't quite know where that joke came from, earlier I put out a reminder that with Nobility being a nonprofit, a lot of our efforts are run on volunteer support and donations. And so if you would be willing to consider us during your end of year giving. If these programs have been meaningful to you, whether it's this AIR program, Access You, BADA, AccessWorks, we would be extremely grateful if you'd consider donating to us. No donation is too small. If you'd consider buying us a latte or donating what you would spend on a latte, buying us lunch or donating what you would spend on lunch. I did the math a few months ago, or sorry, a few weeks ago. And oh, why, thank you. The little one gave me a bag. Okay, thank you. Okay, goodbye. Here's a baby. Babies are helpful when you're asking for donations, right? If you would consider buying us lunch or buying us a latte, if everyone who participated in an AIR program or Access You, look at the camera, baby, make a face. If everyone who participated in an AIR program or Access You bought us a latte or bought us lunch, we would hit our end of year fundraising goal by the end of the year. So anyway, that is my cheap attempt at being cute. Yes, babies definitely help, especially when they're as cute as Miss Amelia. Okay, go to grandma. Go to grandma. Okay, you want to stay with me? Okay. All right. Awesome. So do we have any other folks who want to share their experience with us? If not, we know that you've been online. Uh-oh, what has happened? Oh, oops, sorry. I don't know what happened with my audio. I'm blaming it on the baby. But only because she's so cute. But
I
are there
have a
any
story.
folks? Oh, yeah, sure, of course.
A little funny anecdote. 2019, when I was on a team, we had finished the site early, and then everyone but me went off for the weekend. Some of them camping, some of them out of town, all unreachable. And our mentor, the evening that our files were due, contacted us, or rather me, to say, hey, I found some things that you can fix. Our site was WordPress. And here's my confession. I don't know WordPress. I've always been a hand coder. I always hand coded HTML. So I tried to make the changes that Sarah had suggested. And an hour before the site was due, I had broken the site completely. And I frantically tried to work back all my changes, and I found a way that I could revert the site to the previous version. And I did it minutes before the deadline. And I said, okay, well, doesn't look like we're going to get that first prize because we weren't able to make all the changes that Sarah had suggested. Well, a couple of months later at the award ceremony, we were surprised. We got first place. So your site doesn't have to be perfect. It's just make it as accessible as you can.
Exactly. And I think that especially for folks who are participating in the rally for, maybe the first or second time, for designers and developers who have been in this space, when I say the space, who have been creating digital products for a while, sometimes we can get hung up on aesthetics, right? But then the beautiful thing about the AIR program is that it kind of starts to reprogram your brain that accessible design is beautiful design. And you find the beauty in making something functional and pleasing and delightful for everyone, regardless of ability. So thank you for sharing that. Awesome. So we are, so we're all in, correct? Yeah, we're all in. Fantastic. I'm going to do one last final call for folks who would like to share their experience with us. And if we don't have any more stories, suggestions, thoughts, then y'all, it is the Friday before Thanksgiving. I'm not going to keep you any longer than I need to, huh? 5, 4,
Sorry, who's managing
3.
chat?
That is a-okay.
Thank you so
2,
much.
1. All right, y'all. Well, with that, I am going to say one last time how amazing it's been being your MC tonight, being a great backup to the amazing Knowbility staff for this accessibility internet rally for this year. I really, really hope to see y'all during the awards ceremony this January. If you have not signed up to attend, please do so. And additional seats are available if you'd like to bring family, friends, coworkers. I do believe there's information on the website, although I'm not the best person to advise on that. And then I also hope that you'll consider attending Access U this May, either as an attendee. If it's your first time participating in the AIR Rally as a developer team, the next step in your journey has to be Access U, because Access U is the only place where you are going to get hands-on practical training to level up what you've learned here. You're going to be meeting in person with a lot of the amazing mentors who have participated, a lot of the judges who will review your sites are actually instructors at Access U. So if this program has made an impact on you, hold on to your beach shorts. I couldn't, sorry, it's Friday. Hold on to your bananas, because Access U is where you level up. Okay. And then, yeah, last but not least, end of year, please think of us. The baby has gone off to play, so that's the last you'll see of her. But really appreciate you entering in this program, and we hope to see you in programs to come.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you all.
And congratulations.
Congrats. Bye.
Bye. Bye.